The company that makes your stand mixer is still headquartered 2 miles from homes where children couldn't drink the water. This is how that happened. I have a KitchenAid stand mixer that belonged to my grandmother. She bought it in 1983 in a color the design team probably called parchment, though it looks more like a hospital wall in a film from the 70s. It still works. I've used it for bread, Christmas cookies, pasta dough, and once, at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night, a single batch of banana bread I absolutely did not need. The motor sounds like it briefly considers retirement every time I switch it to high speed, then decides against it, and I never thought to ask who made it or where. Just assumed it existed the way area codes exist, as a permanent feature of the world that had always been there. I was wrong about that. KitchenAid is made by Whirlpool Corporation, which was founded in Benton Harbor, Michigan, in 1911. Benton Harbor is a Rust Belt city on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan, and their headquarters is still there, at 2000 North M63, and the address is on their website right now. What's also in Benton Harbor right now is a 45% poverty rate, a lead water crisis that has been running since 2018, and about 10,000 people who have been waiting a very long time for someone to fix the pipes. Most stories about a company destroying its hometown follow the same script. Company arrives, builds everything, leaves, city dies. This isn't that story. Whirlpool never left. That's the part nobody talks about. In the summer of 1911, a man named Lou Upton arrived in Benton Harbor with a broken patent for a hand-cranked washing machine and $5,000 borrowed from a Chicago investor named Lowell Bassford. His Uncle Emery figured out how to attach an electric motor to the machine. They called it Upton Machine Company, and they landed their first customer in the Federal Electric Division of Commonwealth Edison. Then they delivered an early order with defective transmission gears. Federal Electric should have walked. Instead, they called Upton, who recalled every machine and replaced every faulty part at his own cost, which so impressed Federal Electric that they doubled the order. That decision, to eat the loss rather than blame the parts, is the reason Whirlpool Corporation exists. They changed the name to 1900 Corporation in 1929, then to Whirlpool in 1950, named after their newest washing machine. The name had a small problem, in that it sounds less like a domestic appliance and more like a warning sign at a public pool, but the brand survived anyway. Over the following 3 decades, Whirlpool went from a single washer manufacturer in southwest Michigan to the largest appliance company on the planet. They acquired KitchenAid, Maytag, JenAir, Amana, and Insinkerator, and their products ended up in every American kitchen and laundry room. By the 1980s, Whirlpool was a Fortune 500 company, a household name in the most literal sense, and all of it had started in a small Rust Belt city on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan with $5,000 and a faulty gear. Benton Harbor, during that run, was a working city. In 1960, it had just over 19,000 residents, and Whirlpool, together with a cluster of other manufacturers, including Superior Steel Castings and Auto Specialties Manufacturing, employed large portions of the population at wages that supported a mortgage and a family. The tax base was functional. It wasn't wealthy, but it wasn't broken. Then came the shifts that reshaped every industrial city in the Midwest. White flight began in the 1960s. As part of the Great Migration, black families moved north from the south, seeking industrial work and better conditions, while white families moved out of Benton Harbor and into the surrounding suburbs, including into the neighboring town of St. Joseph, which sits directly across the St. Joseph River. Decades of redlining had already been drawing hard borders around where black families could buy property, which concentrated both people and disinvestment inside Benton Harbor, while wealth accumulated on the other side of the river. The two towns are separated by about a mile of water. One is now 83% white, and the other is 90% non-white. One tracks the national average for household income. In Benton Harbor, the median household income is $21,000, $916. Residents there live, on average, 19 fewer years than residents of St. Joseph. Same river, 1 mile apart. In the 1980s, Whirlpool closed most of its southwest Michigan manufacturing operations. The jobs moved first to Ohio, then to Mexico and abroad, and what stayed behind was the corporate headquarters, a glass and steel campus at 2000 North M63, and a name on the building. Benton Harbor kept the address. It didn't keep the employment. By the 2010s, the city had lost nearly half its population from its peak. Close to half the remaining residents were living below the poverty line. The schools were under state-appointed emergency management under Michigan's emergency manager law. Basic city services were being cut to prevent insolvency, and residents were 2 to 3 times less likely to be approved for a home loan than their neighbors across the river. The people of Benton Harbor were also, it turned out, drinking poisoned water. In 2018, tests of the city's tap water started coming back with numbers nobody wanted to see. Under the EPA lead and copper rule, the federal action level for lead in drinking water is 15 parts per billion. Some tests in Benton Harbor came back at over 300 parts per billion, which is 20 times the legal limit. Lead at those concentrations causes brain damage in children, kidney disease in adults, and neurodevelopmental harm that compounds across a lifetime. The pipes had been deteriorating for years. The city did not have money to replace them, and the state was slow to respond. By October of 2021, the Michigan Department of Health had stepped in with bottled water distribution and a formal advisory telling residents to stop using their taps for drinking, cooking, and brushing teeth. Environmental groups started calling Benton Harbor a second Flint. The comparison was accurate. It's a majority black city that had been systematically disinvested for 50 years, and when the infrastructure finally failed, it failed the way it always does in places like that, slowly enough that nobody outside the community noticed until the damage was already done. Here's the thing I keep coming back to, and I want you to hold this not as an abstraction, but as a physical fact. While all of that was happening, while the pipes were failing and the test results were coming back, and families were being told to stop using their taps, the Whirlpool Corporation headquarters was 2 miles away. Not in a different city, not a regional satellite office. The global headquarters of the largest appliance manufacturer in America, sitting 2 miles from homes where children couldn't drink the water. At some point in the mid-2000s, Whirlpool noticed that decades of disinvestment had made Benton Harbor a difficult place to attract senior executive talent. Their response was to build a golf resort. The Harbor Shores Development, a Jack Nicklaus-designed course that opened in 2011 and is partly funded by Whirlpool, is now the regular host of the KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship. Whirlpool has cited the broader Harbor Shores project in investor materials as representing $900 million in strategic investment and over 3,200 jobs created for the region. Analysts who reviewed its direct economic impact on Benton Harbor described the results as, and this is a direct quote from the Detroit Free Press, mixed at best. Those two numbers are not necessarily in contradiction, which is part of what makes the accounting difficult. In 2023, Whirlpool opened a new headquarters in Milan, Italy, for its Europe, Middle East, and Africa operations, employing around 600 people. A year later, in April of 2024, they sold 75% of the European appliance business to a Turkish company called Arçelik, creating a new entity called Beko Europe BV, with Whirlpool retaining a 25% stake. They had opened an Italian headquarters to manage a business they were mostly selling to Turkey, which is either a very sophisticated portfolio strategy or an extremely expensive way to spend a year, depending on your perspective. Back in Michigan, the layoffs continued. At the start of 2024, Whirlpool employed 59,000 people globally. By the end of 2025, that number had dropped to 41,000, with approximately 1,700 documented positions eliminated in Benton Harbor and surrounding facilities over 24 months, each round described in the company's press releases as another step in the company's evolution. In October of 2025, Whirlpool announced a major investment. $300 million, new jobs, expanded production. The announcement was issued from Benton Harbor. The investment was going to Clyde and Marion, Ohio, between 400 and 600 new jobs. 6 months later came a further $60 million for a new factory in Perrysburg, Ohio, their 11th American factory and their 6th in the state of Ohio. 100 to 150 more positions, none of them in Michigan. The current marketing campaign, running across investor presentations and press releases, is called Started in America, Stayed in America. Whirlpool posted $15.5 billion in revenue in 2025 with a net income of $318 million. The median household income in the city where it was founded and where it is still headquartered is $21,916. None of this happened because of one decision. There was no meeting where someone drew a line through Benton Harbor. What happened was 100 smaller decisions made over 50 years, each one rational in isolation, each one nudging investment and jobs and opportunity a little further down the highway toward Ohio and Mexico, while the address on the letterhead stayed the same. The headquarters remained. The community underneath it didn't. It is the Rust Belt story, except the company never left, which somehow makes it harder to explain and easier to ignore. I got the KitchenAid mixer from my grandmother's kitchen after she died. She had no idea where it was made or what city the company called home. She just knew it worked. I use it every few weeks, and I still hear that motor briefly, considering its options on the way to high speed, then deciding against retirement for another round. Whirlpool made it in 1983. Their headquarters is still at 2000 North M63, Benton Harbor, Michigan. The city is still there too, so is the water.